Hey everyone, this is Patricia here, and welcome to Turtle Talk, where we have all turtles all the time. This is the podcast where we have everything Ninja Turtles related. Movies, TV shows, video games, toys, the works. Grab your pizzas, grab your sides, grab your katanas, and sit back and relax as we talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Brought to you by oldschoollane.blogspot.com and manicexpression.com. Welcome aboard to episode 3 of Turtle Talk, where there's all turtles all the time. As usual, I am Patricia.
And I'm Kevin.
And today, I know that a lot of people are thinking about the Comic-Con, of course, since Comic-Con was just last week, and there's been a lot of announcements about Season 2 of TMNT, but we're not going to talk about that. We will in the next episode, though. Today is going to be a much more special occasion, because we have ourselves a very special guest, don't we, Kevin?
Of course we do. You want to introduce her, Patty?
Absolutely. Now let's take you back to your childhoods, ladies and gentlemen. December 14th, 1987. You sit down by the TV. You turn it on, and you see 4 turtles with a bunch of weapons. You see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You're all excited to see this program, something quite unique, based on a comic book series that most people have not known of until years later, but I'm getting way too ahead of myself. Now, our special guest involves with one of the main characters from the show. The main character has been in pretty much every single episode, since considering that there have been 10 seasons with 193 episodes, and she has been mostly well known for one particular character. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Renae Jacobs, the voice of Lotus Blossom.
Lotus Blossom!
Yes, that's
and
right.
April O'Neil!
How can you forget April O'Neil? Patty, that's it. You're fired. That's it. Out the door. Out.
Okay, yes, technically she did voice Lotus Blossom. Yes, that's true, in one episode, but let's be honest. She's mostly known as April.
Can't forget about the Brooklyn accent cashier on one of the episodes, too.
Yeah, but still. But seriously, though, ladies and gentlemen, we have here on the podcast April O'Neil.
Yay!
Renae.
Thank you, guys. That was some introduction.
So in detail, it was like those 1940s radio. You're sitting down on watching the television set. All of a sudden, you hear a creak at the door. Like, you were so detailed, Patty. That was cool.
Thank you. I've been working on it all week.
Ah.
All right, I guess we're done.
Yes. Thank you so much, Renae. Good night. No, but seriously, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on our podcast.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm very excited to talk to both of you and all of you.
That's our very first guest, no less, ladies and gentlemen, for Turtle Talk.
Yes, that's right. We've already had a guest previously on Casual Chats, but this is our very first guest for Turtle Talk, which is even more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kevin, would you like to start off with some questions for Renae?
Absolutely. Renae, are you ready?
I think so. I will try.
Okay, well, I have a question to ask you. If you were given the opportunity to write an episode for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, what would it be about, and what kind of villain or mutant would you have for the episode for the Turtles in April to fight/defeat?
That's a great question. I would have loved to have had an opportunity to write an episode for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. April was always being carried off by someone and rescued by the turtles. So I would love to have had an episode where actually the guys would have been carried off. And of course, I love the classic Krang and Shredder. So I think I really would have gone very classic. The guys are in big trouble, and there's only one person who can save them, and that would be April O'Neil. And so finally, April will have not just been a great reporter and a professional, she would have been a superhero too.
That's really cool. I would have wanted to see an episode like that.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Interesting.
Yeah.
To have her save the turtles. A nice twist, you know?
Yeah, out of 190 some episodes, it would have been nice to have April kind of save the day.
Well, Renae, if I may add to that question, I mean, if you really, really think about it, April's been through so much. She was, held hostage by Baxter Stockman in the subway in Return of the Fly. She was in Funny They Shrunk Michelangelo. Her and Vernon got shrunk by that guy who was obsessed with shrinking things. She was held captive by Shredder so many times. Did she get, at the end of the day, when you were done, recording her, recording the voice, did you ever say, man, I wish they would give her a break once in a while? Like, just, just like maybe go on vacation or just stay home and, like, just relax. Have a bottle of wine, watch some TV, just calm down and chill. Not having to be, tortured or anything else like that.
Well, April was a real working woman. And it's been interesting, in going to the Comic-Cons and meeting the fans. I've had so many young women come up to me and tell me that it was because of April that they felt that they could do anything. And a lot of these young women are in the military now, or they've taken on all kinds of interesting jobs, things that they never thought they would do. But I'm really proud that April, even though she was carried off and constantly rescued, she was still a reporter and she was on the job. And I don't think April was the type to want to just kick back and relax. She was always looking for the next scoop. She was always wanting to do better and be respected and taken seriously. So, I think that a woman of her age and her day, she had a lot of glass ceilings to break.
It's true. Yeah. She wasn't the type that always just like stood back. I mean, even when there was the fight, she always held, lended a hand no matter what the situation was, and that's the one thing about April that a lot of people respect about the character,
Yeah, she wasn't, even though, like I said, one of my favorite lines is "Put me down, you big ape," but she always landed on her feet.
Always. I remember that episode.
Yeah, I really appreciate that April was able to stand up for herself, as opposed to just being a damsel in distress, like, say, Lois Lane or Mary J. Watson would be.
Right.
Exactly. And maybe that's why so many of the fans have come up and really, it's been very emotional, really thanked me for voicing April and having a character like that be strong. It's been really eye-opening.
Oh yeah, to be honest with you, and this is the truth, you've really put a lot of energy into that character. Since episode 1. You gave her so much full of light, so much full of energy, and and also because I'm an actor and stuff like that, and I noticing that, it's like the even though she's a cartoon, she's very human.
Well, the only way that an animated show comes alive really through the voice, especially with the animation as minimal as it is these days.
Yeah.
To save money, it's not the Disney type animation anymore. So it's the voice that really brings them off the page.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because the voice is the only thing that you can have to express character. You don't have your physical body. You need to be able to express sadness, happiness, anger, being attacked, or whatever, just by voice.
And you did that to the T. You really did that. You really brought April to life.
Thanks.
Episodes. it was just.
I really related to her. She reminded me a lot of myself, and I really loved playing that character versus, and I love playing every character I was ever.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, of course.
I'm very appreciative of all the work that I've done, but doing a glow friend is a different experience than doing an adult, professional woman.
Oh, definitely.
Right. And I think that one of the major things that I want to point out to our listeners that maybe they thought of, but maybe they haven't really put together, is that back in the 80s, when it came to female characters, they were either trying to be over there to compensate the fact that there were so many men, or they were just basically female versions of the male characters. You had people like there was Chara from Thundercats, and there was Smurfette from the Smurfs, and you had, you also had She-Ra from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, but April was something a little bit different, though. She was able to stand out as her own character, as opposed to just being like a carbon copy of the Turtles or something like that.
Right. She was completely different than the Turtles.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of women actually respect the character, because they can be able to put in a little bit of themselves in her.
Right.
Nice. Well, I'm glad to have been a part of that, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing about this is that we were happy that we were able to watch the Turtles back then, and to watch them on TV and then watch them on the VHS tapes. I mean, it was just, and the best part also about April, what I also thought was really good, which I thought you added really nice, is that she was very loyal to the Turtles, and she had like you said, like you gave her such different ranges. Like you showed her that she was emotional, either she was sad or she was happy and stuff like that. And as an actor, that really helped me also myself, because it showed that with voice that you could do so many things, and it was really great. It was amazing how you did that, especially for
That was my job.
Well, you certainly did a good one, that's for sure.
Yes.
Go ahead, Patty. Go ahead.
Actually, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, Renae, but you already answered it, about what characteristics do you see in April that remind you of yourself? And you kind of already answered that question, but would you like to maybe talk about some of the things that differ you from April?
Well, let's see. Differ. We were very much alike. Really. I'm not afraid to try anything. I was always, if someone gave me a role, I was always willing to try it. I was always willing to stretch myself. I tried to be very professional. And I am a very loyal person. I will defend my friends and family to the death. I do see things very black and white in my life a lot, and I think April did too. I don't know, different. I don't know that I would go down in the sewers, but if I had a good reason, I'd probably go down in the sewers. But I related very well to the character. I really felt that we were very kindred spirits.
When you had got the part of April, did you watch the news? Watch news reports, or watch news reports?
Yes, I did. Absolutely. That's a great question. Absolutely. I tried to see the different styles of the different female reporters that were on television, and absolutely, I did.
And when you saw the news reporters, just for an acting, from an acting point of view, you took notes and everything else like that, or how did you when you saw the news, what did you?
I think I took in the physicality and the attitude, the confidence, the poise, the phrasing of how they would, sign off, sign on, do the reporting, do the news. So I did use that, yeah.
That's interesting. That's good. I usually do that with my characters too. If I see something, if I see a character, if I have to play, say, a police officer or play a doctor, I'm always checking up to see, do some research on that and stuff like that.
Yeah, we used to, I'm sure people we used to call it stealing a character.
Oh.
You'd observe that person, and you'd try and steal and file away in your memory of certain traits or certain phrasing, the way they breathed, the way their stance. because you physically have to act the animation, the character. You don't just sit there and read it. You take those words off the page. You physically do the motion. It may be that, you know, someone's punching someone, or someone is looking towards a certain way. You physically do those things in the booth in order to make sure that it's truly coming out and is giving life to that character.
It's true.
Yeah, it is very true, because in fun note, I actually mentioned this very few times, you know, during the duration of the blog. But when the website that we are associated with, Manic Expression, when they were doing their very first podcast plays, and they needed women, there were not a lot of women who volunteered at the time. So basically, I had to play any woman that was needed. And there was 2 plays that were going on because we were doing a double feature. There was a play that involved with a dark comedy sort of serious story. Then there was my play that I wrote, and I needed 3 women, and every single one of them were different. 2 of them were old ladies, and then the other one was like a regular teenage girl. And so, knowing that there was no other women who was going to be playing it, I decided to take some of the acting skills that I did in high school and some of my writing skills when I wrote the play, and I kind of created the character for myself and how they would sound. And I thought to myself that there was a teacher that she needed to sound very sophisticated, so I went with like this very high-pitched Julia Child. And then for one of the secretary of the character, I went with a really bad impression of Suzanne Kent. You know, if you ever seen the movie Cheech and Chong, Nice Dreams, she played Sydney the agent. And then the third character, since, you know, every character at one point needs to sound like themselves, so basically the third character was just my voice. So I kind of had to get in the notion that every single character, that even if you create it or somebody else creates, you need to think about how they're feeling or what they're going to be going through in their minds or what reactions that you can be able to pour in.
That's right. The character doesn't just start to live on page 1, scene 1. The character lives... You have to design a life for that character from their childhood to their whatever age they're at in the part you're playing. You've got to, you know, look at who were their parents, how were they brought up, what was their schooling like, and it's all based on, you know, the script. But if you don't build that life for that character, it's very flat. So you really need to make that character flesh and blood and passionate and whatever the characteristics, whether they're evil, whether they're heroes, whether they're children, you have to give them a pre-life before you start speaking their words.
That's right.
True. Give them a backstory, give them like a background, sort of.
Exactly.
Like, trying to create your own thing for the character, your own story for the character, their own life, creating their life, which...
Right.
You know, I love doing that. Renae, I have a question to ask, and I apologize if this sounds naive, but I just want to like kind of switch gears a little bit. I remember one time you said what it was like recording with the other actors, with Rob and Pat, and I believe it was like you said it was like you had to do like one take. My question is like, because like the show was just like had a lot of funny moments, like a lot of funny scenes. When you were ready to record, like, was there ever a time when, like, say, like, one of the, like how do you hold back your laughter, or, like, if you accidentally laugh, or, you know, or something
so
like that?
I don't recall an interview where I said we had to do the show in one take.
Oh, yeah.
That's not accurate. We did a rehearsal that would take about an hour beforehand, and we got a lot of the silliness out at that.
Yeah, that's what I meant, yeah.
But after the rehearsal, and we started recording, we tried to go through the script for as long as possible. But many times it was impossible because inevitably something funny would happen that hadn't been done in the rehearsal, or someone would blow a line, or any number of things. But they did try to go from to do as much of the script in one take as possible, and then you just pick up from where you left off and starting. Right. So, you had to be very calm, really listen, and try very hard not to laugh, because the guys that played the turtles are brilliant, and many of the lines they came up on, they weren't written in the script. Many times they just start pulling things out of the air, and they were hysterical.
Right.
So yeah, you had to be careful, because the producers weren't real happy when we were breaking up during that time.
I could imagine. Especially when you were doing that, if you were doing that and stuff like that, and you were ready to record and stuff like that.
You're professional, you have to hold it together. You can't be giggling through the whole thing.
No. I was wondering how, the recording process would go when you guys were ready to record, for an episode, stuff like that.
Yeah, we would all sit around, usually in our same seats every recording session, and the producers and director would be in the booth, and they'd say, "Okay, Ninja Turtles episode such and such, take one," and we'd open and go for as long as we could without stopping. Sometimes the director would say, "Hey, can you do that line again this way?" or can you give me another take on that? Or can you think of something else instead of that line's not really working? So we would stop from time to time. But we'd really try to go through as much of the script as possible. And it was like a radio show in that way. We would react off one another. It wasn't just reading lines. If somebody said a line differently, and you'd kind of react to it, and your line would be affected by what they said.
Right.
My next question, and this is going a little bit off topic, but when I was looking through your filmography and looking at all the various amounts of works that you did, I was quite surprised when I found that you were on the first season of Masters of the Maze.
Yes, I was the Mistress of the Maze.
Oh.
Yes, it was an old kids game show.
Hey! Knock it off with the old.
Sorry. Okay. It was a kids' game show from around the 90s that was definitely trying to cope with the popularity of various amounts of kids' shows that were going on at the time. Nickelodeon had their versions of kids' game shows like Nick Arcade, they had Guts, they had Legends of the Hidden Temple, and then also...
I think those were knockoffs. I think ours was one of the first one, if I'm not mistaken. What do you think?
Well,
I think Masters of the Maze was the originals.
It was.
It definitely started the game show craze.
Exactly. That's what I remember. I mean, I think we were the first, and then there started to be kind of like knockoffs, and then the technology improved, and so they were able to do different things. I mean, ours was pretty low tech. It was fascinating to watch a few episodes of it recently and go, wow, it was so low tech. It was unbelievable. But kids loved it. It was kind of at the beginning of the video gaming,
Right.
Yeah, it came out in 94, so as I recall, Nick Arcade came out in 1991, 1991 or 92. Guts came out in 92. Legends of the Hidden Temple came out in 93. Carmen Sandiego, which showed on PBS, also came around, I would say 93 or 94. So, yeah, it definitely came out around the same time when kids' game shows were really all the rage. They were really popular, especially around the early 90s when they were very physical. You had to be involved with a lot of physical activity, just like they said, going around traveling in a mystical maze. So, and tell us about your experience working on that show.
Yeah.
Oh, it was really fun. Well, first of all, they made me up crazy. I mean, I had a wig, I had on sparkly makeup. I don't think they really knew what they I don't know what they thought the Mistress of the Maze was. I mean, some people called me a witch. Lovely. Lovely. Yeah, she was supposed to be this kind of ethereal character, kind of like, maybe like the wizard in Wizard of Oz when Dorothy enters for the first time and she sees this giant head. I think that's kind of the concept. It was fun. I was sequestered in my own little booth, and so I never saw the kids running through the maze in real time. And J.D. Roth was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. There was a show. He had cue cards. We all had cue cards, and there was a show where they messed up his cue cards on purpose. They thought they'd pull a prank on him, and it was almost like in Pig Latin or something. And JD did the entire show without batting an eye. He, from the beginning to the end of the show, never once broke his character or had any verbal, any mess ups, nothing. And so the joke was on them. He was so great, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I wish that they had renewed us for season 2. I don't know why they changed it, but it was a lot of fun. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, it sounded like a lot of fun from the looks of it. I was watching some episodes recently to get some more information about it, and I gotta say, just from looking at the show, it did look like being the Mistress of the Maze must have been like a blast.
Yeah,
it was. In fact, the first, I'd say halfway through the first season, they wanted me to just play it straight and read the directions so the kids wouldn't get confused and just do that same monologue. But then from time to time you'll see there's some little playfulness going on with JD and my character, and I think that would have been fun if they would have allowed us to have that interaction. But it was very, the game was very much played the same way in every single show. So there wasn't very much variation. It was just all about getting through the maze on time.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely kind of reminds me of, say, Guts or Legends of the Hidden Temple, in which you had to go inside of something, in order for you to accomplish a goal. So, yeah.
But the Mistress of the Maze, that actually, that was there, instead of just having, a talk, having the host, you actually had another character there to bring more, action into the game and stuff like that. I think that's what made it more fun.
Yeah, definitely.
You had someone else there instead of just having the host with the microphone.
I think that if they had allowed us to go on with season 2, we could have and allowed us to be more interactive. I think that would have been really fun, or to be able to change the game up, But it went on, and Mario, and I don't remember who was the Mistress of the Maze.
Her name was Clea Montville.
Okay, so they seem to do a very nice job. It changed its flavor, season. But we had a good time.
Yeah. But I have to say that you did a really good job on that show.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's really cool to see you like that. And actually, that was the first time I actually saw you in a live action performance. So I was just I wonder what Renae Jacobs looks like. And then when we typed in your name, it said Masters of the Maze. So we clicked on Masters of the Maze, and it's the earliest. And said, oh my God, that's Renae Jacobs.
Yeah, I don't look like that.
But I was just curious as an actor just to see what you look like, live action, doing a live action thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I loved doing it. It was really fun. It was fun to be on we were on a terrific backlot out in the valley, and it was really fun to be in a sound stage and have that whole thing go on. I love doing it.
Yeah, I have a question. What was it like when you saw the April O'Neil action figure? Like, I know the toys came out, like, in 1988, and, like, it came out before the show, so, like, what was like when you saw, like a character that you voiced? Like... It
was fun. She was a little, muscly.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Like, it definitely was a little different from, like, it's obviously different from the show, but...
Well, she wasn't Barbie, which was nice. She was athletic. The toys were made in China, so I don't know who modeled them. I thought the turtles were terrific. I thought they did a good job with the turtles. And April she looked tough. She was fine, I liked that she didn't have breasts down the street and around the corner, and
wow.
she was she was fine. It was fun having an action figure after something I was doing. That was really fun.
Were you now I know back on the topic of Barbie, were you disappointed that they didn't make the 12-inch April that they were like in the 90s to go with the giant turtles and Rocksteady and Bebop?
Yeah, I'm insulted that they left her out. I'm sure that they made what they thought would sell.
They would sell, yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't know that little boys liked playing with April.
Especially when they saw the press. I remember nerding out for a little bit. They had the first series of the toys, and they had that press, the press sign where her breasts were, and like they thought that was a gimmick. They thought like if you pulled it, like something would happen. So they recalled the toys, and then they didn't have press on it anymore. I was like,
really?
Yeah.
You mean in my day, that toy?
Yeah, it was. They had a press. They actually had, which is pretty hard to find, the press one. It was like by the chest pocket, and they thought that it was like a gimmick or something like that. They thought like if you pull on it, something would happen. So
you mean like a member of the press versus push here?
Yes.
I'll have to look at the one I have. I have a whole collection of them. I'll have to see. That's funny.
Yeah, I was surprised with that, and then it's like, it's funny because then now on eBay those don't go for as much. It's like you can find them on eBay, except for the one with the yellow one. The original one is like very, very rare, especially without the blue lines. If you could find that, that's like, it's worth a lot of money,
Well, I'll have to look at. I think I have the first generation of all of the toys.
First generation. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
We all thought we were going to, be able to sell them in the future for millions of dollars.
No, you can't say it's like sacrilegious. You know how many people, funny story, my friends, I used to have them displayed on my shelf, my turtle toys, because I was very proud. And, of course, my friends being goofballs that they are would take them and misplace them and everything else. And I'm like, all right, that does it. I'm putting them all back. I have OCD. I don't want you touching my stuff.
Oh.
And then, I used to get furious. And then they were like, are you ever going to sell your toys? Are you ever going to sell them? I was like, hell no. There's no way I'm selling these.
Yeah, everybody goes through a time in their life in which you're a kid and you have all these awesome toys, and then they want you to sell them when you get older because they think that you're too mature to hold on to something like that. But then later on, you'll be the one laughing when you still have them and they don't have it anymore because they sold it off to buy whatever.
Oh yeah, nothing could, no, sorry.
Well, I'm glad you've held on to your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff.
Thank you so much.
Time to move out of your mother's basement, though.
Oh, I definitely will. I just wish you were there to yell at my friends when they used to take them and misplace them, especially April. They used to take all the figures at that time and just go crazy. I'm like,
Yeah, the technology wasn't available, but it would have been fun for us to have a recording when they picked me up, saying, "Put me down, you big ape."
Oh.
That would have been so funny. It's kind of like that scene in Toy Story in which Sid picks up Woody and starts talking and
Right.
That would have been so hilarious.
Yeah, especially because they always used to take the toys and used to, like, and I was like, that's it, I'm putting them all away. I feel like you guys are my kids. I gotta, like, hide my toys and stuff like that. What was it like meeting, if you ever did meet, Kevin Eastman and Peter Lorre? How were they like if you met them?
We did meet them. They were very nice. They came to the studio a few times, but they were mainly in the booth, hobnobbing with the producers.
Right.
They came out, shook our hands, told us we were doing a great job.
Oh.
I do know, I'm pretty sure that they were not 100% happy with the direction that we were taking the Turtles. They really did want it dark.
I was going to say, I was going to ask that to you.
Yeah, a few years ago we did a documentary. Apparently, the people who produced it are not able to show it because kind of an agreement with Nickelodeon.
Right.
But I believe it was Kevin Eastman was there, and he did say that they wanted it dark, and I totally disagree.
Right.
That it should have been dark and sinister. The movies are fine for dark and sinister, but
right.
Saturday morning cartoons, dark and sinister at that time, I think when you had all this amazing talent with all of this comic humor, I mean, the guys kept throwing it back to the Marx Brothers and
right.
and Laurel and Hardy and all of the old great radio comics. There were so many nuances and flavors of those people, and then to make it dark, I mean, it didn't make sense to us. It was hard. They couldn't keep us keeping it dark.
Right.
They wouldn't take it there. But they were all. But Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman were always very nice,
mm-hmm.
and I give them a lot of credit. They really came up with something that has lasted throughout the years. I mean, you're talking about a very long time, and each time it's been reinvented, it gets a whole new set of fans.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons too is I remember when I was telling people, they would ask, "What are you doing now?" "Oh, I'm doing the show Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles," and the parents would just freak out. They thought it just sounded so evil.
Really?
Yeah. I said, you have to watch it. It's fun. It's funny. The guys are so loyal, and they're good friends, and they teach good lessons. And people were. Can you imagine that adults were freaked out about the title Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? There was something about it, and maybe that's why it became so attractive to kids, because parents were like, "I don't want you watching it." I don't know. It was weird.
Well, I got to agree with you. It's funny, like when you said back about making it dark and gritty. I mean, I really don't think. I mean, I'm going to be dead honest with you. I really don't think I would enjoy it as much as if they went that really dark and really serious route, because the comedy, like you said, and not to keep bringing it up, that's really what made the show what it is. Was the humor, was the comedic timing, was the writing, was obviously was the acting. I mean, you guys, I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think, I agree with you. I think it was
I have to say that you got to give 80% of what you were enjoying to those four actors, and Pat Braley, who was Krang, and James Avery, who was Shredder, and you've got to really give them the credit, because they were the ones that breathed the life into those.
Absolutely. They all. I mean, you guys all were great, But like I'm saying, the darkness, I really don't think it would have been. I think the way the show was just great, just the way it was.
Yeah, I completely agree. The show was, in itself, something really unique that kids can be able to watch and enjoy. And when they did try to make it dark later on, trying to copy off Batman the Animated Series, people hated it.
Good!
Yeah. I wasn't a big... I mean, the last seasons, it was just they had Carter and all that. I was just... Yeah, what was your take on Carter, by the way?
I agree. And Casey Jones got weird, and
yeah, I mean, I loved the way Pat gave him that Clint Eastwood type of thing. I mean,
yeah.
it was just...
Yeah. Pat's a brilliant actor. They all are. It's
all of you guys were. All of you were great. I mean, that's what made the show, was the way you guys acted and brought these characters to life. I love how Pat was able to, when he did Casey Jones, Corporate Raiders from Dimension X, where he wore the suit, kept the Clint Eastwood, but they still had him wear the hockey mask. He was applying for a job. That was just right there. He had his suit and tie. It was all business attire, but he kept the baseball bat and the hockey mask.
Yeah.
That was just brilliant right there, you know. And the Clint Eastwood too. Some great moments in that show. Really was. Who was your favorite villain, if you had to pick?
I liked Krang.
Oh, Krang was great.
Krang was silly and evil. And I mean, it's just a brain, for goodness sakes, and a robot. I loved the interaction between Krang and Shredder. I mean, they were just
classic,
crazy and wonderful. With the Technodrome and all of that, they were the best evil guys.
Oh yeah.
To me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the best villains, besides the dark ones, is always the incompetent, goofy villains, because they're just always enjoyable to watch. And
especially when they had Krang.
Call the turtles! There's some kind of emergency.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that I live right by a police station, so I feel safe being that there's nothing happening.
Oh, that's okay. This is an occurrence in almost every single episode of either Casual Chats or Turtle Talk.
The cops wanted to say hi to Renae. I'm sorry. I told them that we were interviewing Renae, and they were all Turtle fans, so...
There you go.
They all wanted to come up and say hi.
Always good to have a cop on your side.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Well, I feel safe because I live by a fire department and a police department, so I live in a very safe neighborhood. And I'm not exaggerating, so that's good.
Yeah. I have one final question for you, Renae. What legacy would you like to leave behind when, Turtles is still continuing to be popular all these years later?
Oh, well, I'd like to have people... that's a good question. Legacy leave behind. That April O'Neil set an example of professionalism, that women have a brain, that people should be loyal to one another, that they should they can take risks. They should take risks for each other. They should walk a straight path in terms of what right and wrong, and not accept being mediocre, to keep trying and keep pushing and reach for as high as you can reach and keep reaching. So I'm hoping that the April character inspires people especially women, to know that they can accomplish anything if they really put their mind to it. And if you don't get there today, you'll get there tomorrow or the next day. That you just keep pushing and trying. So that's who I think, the character of April, who hopefully she's inspired people and will continue to just inspire people to do.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions, Kev, right before we conclude this episode?
That was it. That was very good. No, that was...
All right. Well, right before we conclude this episode of Turtle Talk, Renae, do you have anything to plug or any other projects that you're doing that you would like to tell us or that you would like to promote?
Well, at the moment, I have a few things on the back burner. Certainly some of the Comic-Cons that are coming up. If you have a Comic-Con that's in your area and would like to have me or any of the Turtles come, certainly let the people who are running those conventions, let them know. And they can contact me on Facebook under Renae Jacobs, and we'll try and make it happen. I love meeting the fans. It has been a joy and an honor, and it'd be really fun to come to their town.
Okay, fantastic. And that concludes this week's episode of Turtle Talk. Renae, thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a blast.
So much, Renae.
You're welcome. And this is April O'Neil, Channel 6 News.
Thank you.
That made my night.
Yes, and trust me, if you can make Kevin's night, he'll love you forever.
All right, guys. You take care. Thanks for being fans. I appreciate it. And if I'm ever in your area, please come by and meet me. I'd love to sign a picture and appreciate your support.
Will do.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Renae.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. And with that concludes this episode of Turtle Talk. Tune in next time as Kevin and I discuss about the TMNT news that was mentioned in San Diego Comic-Con, as well as the final 2 episodes of Season 1 of TMNT. One that showed last week and the other one that will be showing up this coming Saturday. So, until then, this has been Patricia and Kevin. As we say around here, Cowabunga, Booyakasha, whatever you want to call it, see you later.